So as I was saying before, we're going to be going over some basic drawing practice, and we're going to start off by practicing a few of these basic techniques. So we're going to start off with hatching. Hatching is when you use lines to create shading. In hatching, the lines do not overlap, and you want to, in order to create a shading effect, you just put the lines closer and closer together, or use more lines, but they do not overlap. For example, if you look at this circle, while it seems like these lines are overlapping, they're not going in different directions. So this would be an example of hatching. Notice how all the lines are basically going in the same single direction. So there's no overlap or change in direction in the lines. We're just making lines in the same direction to create that shading, and it looks darker on this side because we have more lines. The lines are tighter together, and as we get to the outer part of the circle, they're looser together, so it's not as much shading. Which leads us to cross hatching. Cross hatching is very similar to hatching, except the lines do overlap. So you can create a more of a shading effect by overlapping the lines. So the lines would be going in multiple directions to create darker shadows, and it takes less time to do cross hatching because you can make lines in different directions, and when they overlap, they'll look darker. Okay, so if we look at these examples, especially the one on the left, we can see that lines are going multiple directions. So some lines are going horizontally, other lines are going vertically. So they're crossing over and they're overlapping. And as opposed to the first drawing, if we look along the edge of this circle, it looks a lot darker than the first circle. And as we look at the outer, even though we can see the lines are loosely overlapping, and the shade is not as great as here, it's still darker shaded than on the regular hatching. Okay. Next, we move to stippling. Stippling is a shading technique where you use dots, and you're only using dots to create a shading effect. So you would be using multiple dots along the figure to create a shade. So while stippling gives you a very unique shading appearance or shading aesthetic, we talked about that word aesthetic in class. Um, it is very time consuming and it can be tedious. So as we practice stippling, it's normal to feel frustrated. It's normal to feel like it's taking forever, but it will give you a unique look when it comes to shading that you won't get from hatching and cross hatching as well. Okay, so as we look at this circle, we still have a circle, we still have shading, but as you can see, we're just using the dots to create a shade. We're just using dots to create shading. And what this technique does is it allows you not only to create shading, but it also gives it a texture. So if you were to imagine picking up this circle, it might feel more grainy in your hand versus the other circles. They would feel smoother because of that cross hatching is it doesn't have as much texture as the stippling does. Okay. Next, we have contour drawing. And contour drawings are fun because they don't have to be perfect. So a contour drawing is a drawing where the artist draws the outline of an image without lifting your pencil. So you would be drawing an image, trying to make the whole image without picking up your pencil once. Okay. So it would look something like this. So we clearly see that it's a pair of shoes, but it's not perfect by any means because the artist is not looking down. They're just looking at whatever it is that they're drawing. In this case, it was shoes. And they're trying not to pick up their pencil unless they're running out of space or whatever the case may be. If the pencil runs off the paper, then yeah, you can look at it and reset your pencil. But you want to do it in one line, one continuous line as best as you can. Okay. Then we have cross contouring. Cross contouring is different than contouring because contouring will be one line. Cross contour lines are actually a way that lines go through the image. They can go horizontally, left to right, or vertically, up and down to show height and depth in an